My name is Richard Sayer, but people call me French, which is my nickname that I've had since I was like 12. It's not some art name that I provided for myself to sound up my own arse or something like that. I'm from England, but I currently live in Germany, and I have been a full-time freelance illustrator slash artist slash designer, whatever you want to call it, since I think about 2005. The fields that I work with depends on who asks me to do what. Like, I literally will draw anything for anyone if they're gonna pay me money. I work from everything from like small heavy metal bands, punk bands, hip hop artists, magazines, newspapers, TV companies, advertising agencies, clothing brands, skateboarding, shoe companies, beer labels, coffee labels. I did something for a cheese company once. I've drawn pictures of people's pets. Literally, if I can draw a picture for someone and I'm into it, then I'll do it. My favorite thing is to draw stuff for exhibitions or commissions for people because you feel a lot freer. How would I define my style? It's like a teenager's bedroom. I'm probably still stuck at, like most people, I'm probably stuck at like 14, 13, something like that. I just draw things that I'm into. So zombies, heavy metal things. I draw a lot of skulls more than anything else, but that's more because I'm just quite drawn to doing that. It's detailed illustration, but it has a sense of humor, and sometimes it can be quite loose even though it's quite tight. It's like contradictory. I worked with Volcom in 2013. My friend Kev used to work for Volcom. He was the marketing guy in the UK, and somehow I did a few t-shirts. This time it was more, I was contacted to see if I would do a couple of t-shirt graphics, and then those t-shirt graphics turned into this whole range. Because the way I quite often draw t-shirt graphics is in pieces, so that it's easier for me to change if I need to make changes for the client. So I'll draw like one section here and one section here, and then it's like a separate drawing, so you can remove it or change it. So when I sent it to Julian, like the art director at Volcom, he was like, oh, we can make all of these things with this because you can pull it apart. So it went from 2 t-shirts to, how many pieces is this? I mean, 1,000 pieces, whatever the hell's been made, like what? So these two are the original 2 t-shirt graphics that I designed for the collection. So that's what we started with. So this one, the way I draw this stuff is I draw it all separately in pieces, knowing that they might want to change it, or we could pull it apart and make other graphics. So I drew it originally, so this guy is one drawing, the smoke is a separate drawing, the graveyard and then the little monsters are separate ones as well. This one is similar, so this was actually based, the shapes and stuff, like the background, like the crop outs to put the graphics on, was actually based on like an old horror movie, like VHS case. There's like a VHS one, like, instead of being like, it just says VHS, it's like Volcom heavy shit. There was sort of a free hand to do this. But the original idea was it was loosely based, the concept for the collection that I was sent from Volcom was the idea of like John Carpenter sort of horror movies, like VHS, Video Nasty, kind of things like that. And it was like a mood board of different movie posters and different stuff like that. And I'm quite into, or I have been quite into like movies like that. Like horror movies, but more, not like horror movies like now. I'm not into like Saw or any of this shit, like none of that modern crap. I like stuff with like weird animatronics that looks rubbish. Like I like things that look handmade. It was like, this is the idea, but go with it in your own direction and do what you want. This is kind of cool, the all over print inside the jacket. I like this as well. I like the way that they made, with the collection, it was, some of it's quite subtle. So like it looks just like a black jacket, but then you get all the graphic stuff on the inside, which is maybe one of those things where you could be 40 and dress like a 25-year-old because you can hide that. How do I describe this collection? It's pretty fun, isn't it? My favorite thing about the collection is that it's heavily based on the illustrations, like it's heavily based on the graphics. Like the trousers, like the pants that have the graphics all over them, I was like, that's pretty cool to actually be bold enough to make, like, it would be one of those things where I'd be like, that would be cool, I wouldn't wear that, but that would be cool. And then knowing that people have been really into it, and especially that the colors are really nice and bright, it's exciting, it's got a lot of energy to it, without it being overbearing and sort of gaudy. It isn't like something you'd be like, oh, that's really cool, but that colour's fucking off its tits, I can't wear that. Like, it's not like some really horrendous, like, over-the-top thing that you're only gonna want to wear once. For me, Volcom has this really strong place within skateboarding. For me, I think it's probably a personal thing, being 40 and growing up like skateboarding in the 90s and knowing where Volcom came from. One of my favourite things about Volcom was the collage, the way they used to make adverts that were like collage and everything was pieced together, and it felt really raw and like quite DIY, even though it was like a bigger brand. Like, it always felt quite raw, and they always stick with like a solid team, and everything seems, it's all very well made and thought out. There's like a good concept and process behind it. I think that's what it means to me, is it actually has some thinking to it, and it feels a bit like a family. Thanks for having me, Gonzaï. Please come by and see the pop-up and the exhibition and maybe buy something. Thanks a lot, see you later.